Good morning. This is my third segment of Sunday morning reflection for you. Actually doing it this morning from my office rather than from the St. Guido Conforti Chapel, where last week's and the week before's had happened. I hope you're doing well. We're doing as well as we can here at Fatima Shrine. So this third week, what I'd like to do is share two reflections. One is on the power of prayer, no matter where we find ourselves. I say that because many people are feeling the absence of praying in a church, and they really feel they're missing a lot. And in one sense, we are, because communal worship is very, very important to us, especially for us Catholics. We're ritual people. We ritualize everything. But because of the fear of this contagious virus, we need to be apart to both flatten the curve, but also bring this reality to an end in one way or another. So this Holy Week is going to be like no other. Some might feel that watching a ritual of ours visually through either the computer or through the television may not be enough. We're not there. But I want to tell you, we are there in some mystical kind of way. Now, I'll tell you why. I had made reference to the war that I was experiencing back in the 90s in Sierra Leone. On that Friday, when we were looted, February 13th of 1997, we were in great danger. Towards the end of the afternoon, one of the child soldiers came to drag me over to the offices to open them, and I told him that everything that was in the offices were in my apartment where you now looted, so there's no use to go. In his fear and frustration, he shot near me, and the bullet ricocheted and entered into my thigh. He ran off. I wasn't aware that I was wounded until I walked into the living room, and my colleagues who had heard the shot and thought I'd actually died, there I was, and they said, "You've been shot," because they could see the blood running down my pant legs, which I didn't, because I couldn't feel a thing. It was a sting, and in the confusion of it all. Anyway, we took care of it. I'm here, as you see. I recovered very well. And we ran into the bush an hour later. About a year later, when I was home here in the States and recounted the story of that fateful day, many of my friends had said to me, "What was the day? What was the hour? I was thinking of you and praying for you at that very hour. We knew you were in the soup." And I can tell you that when it had happened and we were walking through the bush paths into the forest for safety, I could feel their prayers. So even though now we're not able to be together as a community, know that we are praying for you around the altar each day, and we feel your presence, and I hope you can feel ours. It's very real. The other thought, and I hope not to be too long today, is, again, we're ritual people, but we're drawing inspiration from only 3 of the 4 Gospels when it comes to table fellowship. So we have an altar. We recreate the Last Supper scene, in a sense. We take bread and wine and bless it. It becomes Jesus, because he said at the Last Supper, "This is my body, this is my blood." And Eucharist is the height and summit of our worship. But is that all Eucharist is? I have a suspicion that when you read John's Gospel, John's conversation about Eucharist is in chapter 6, the Bread of Life chapter. Chapters 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 that recount his memory of the Last Supper has nothing to do with table fellowship. It starts with Jesus washing their feet. And after that, it continues with a long 3-chapter reflection on who we mean to Jesus. We are his friends, no longer slaves. We're consecrated in truth. We're the vine. He's the vine. We're the branches. He promises us the Spirit, the advocate. He asks us to do the Father's will, which is to love one another, which is to love one another, which is to love one another. He repeats it more than once. This is my commandment, love one another. That's the Eucharist. That's the table fellowship that John remembers. So for me, the challenge is, now that we can't come around a physical altar or table, as Matthew, Mark, and Luke remembered, we can be around the table, challenged to be Eucharist as we serve one another in the many creative ways that people are doing it. And there are some wonderful good news ways that people are reaching out to other people in spite of the masks, in spite of the social distancing, in spite of the fears. We're cutting through that and reaching out in solidarity to the other. And to remember the affirmation that Jesus offers to us. You are my friends, not slaves. You are consecrated in truth. I'm sending you an advocate. So as we feel the affirmation, hearing this from the mouth of Jesus at that Last Supper experience, we can in turn affirm one another, empower one another, love one another. That's the challenge of this Holy Week. That's what's going to make this Holy Week, the Holy Thursday celebrations, the Good Friday celebrations, the Holy Saturday celebrations, the Easter Sunday celebration, so different and deep for us. Because we aren't alone. Somehow we're connected, and we are loved by God in ways beyond our imagination. It's only now ours to see, given the time we have to enter into this new prayer experience, both personally and communally, to discover how alive and well the Spirit is in our life today. Have a blessed Holy Week.